All right, so hello everyone and welcome to the June 24th, 2025 regular council meeting for the Village of Lytton. I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone to please turn off your video, mute your microphones, and allow council to begin the proceedings. Just to let you know, we're all being recorded and broadcasted on the Village of Lytton YouTube channel. If anyone is looking for a video recording of this meeting or a past meeting, you can go to the Village YouTube channel and watch it there. Thank you, Your Worship. You may call the meeting to order. Just one moment. I have to unmute you. There we go.
Great. Thank you. I call this regular council meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. I want to begin by recognizing we're gathered here for this meeting on the unceded traditional ancestral territory of the Entlacapan people. Here in the hall tonight, we have Councillor McCann and Councillor Michelle. We have Councillor Lightfoot and Councillor Toss joining us via Zoom tonight. We also have, in accordance with our council procedure bylaw, we have Kathy Walters here, who is acting corporate officer. Now we will begin by adopting the agenda for this meeting. I require a motion. So moved. Thank you, Councillor McCann, and a seconder. Councillor Michelle. All those in favor? And carried. Now we have the minutes of the regular council meeting of June the 10th, and we need a motion to adopt those minutes. Councillor.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle, and a seconder.
There you go.
Councillor Lightfoot. Were there any errors or omissions?
No.
So, thank you. All those in favor then? And carried. So we move right on to, we have no business arising. We'll move right on to public comment, and I'm going to turn it back over to Corporate Officer Storoshenko.
Thank you, Your Worship. So members of the public are now invited to comment on matters related to the agenda. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. You can find that by clicking on React at the bottom of your screen and then click raise hand. When it's your turn, I'll read your name and you'll be asked to unmute yourself. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. Speakers are asked to please state and spell your name, say your address, the agenda item number that you're speaking to. So if anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. Not seeing anyone, so I'll call for a second time. If anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. And still seeing no one. Your Worship, is there anyone at Parish Hall that wishes to speak?
No, there's no one here this evening.
All right, so thank you. That completes the public comment portion of the meeting. Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you. So we'll move right on to item number 7, which is staff reports. And our first one is from our CAO Marquette regarding the grant program extensions. And
thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us here tonight. I have this first report is with respect to our grant programs that we have been that were initiated at all different times, but we've been extending them as we sort of see the success of them and then the required need for them. So there's 3 programs in total. The first one is our building permit reduction program. So this program allows property owners rebuilding a property that they owned on June 30th, 2021, a 50% reduction in the building permit fees as calculated under our building bylaw. So this program was initially approved back in November of 2023. It has been extended a couple of different times, and the recommendation is to extend it further to December 31st of 2025. So far, we've given reductions of $72,712 in building permit fees. The second program is the archaeology grant program. This program was first put into place in January of 2024. At that time, it was for a contribution of up to $5,000 towards archaeology costs. Recently, on the February 11th, 2025 meeting, Council made a decision to increase that to $20,000 contribution in archaeology costs. And this again is for the property owners that owned the property on June 30th of 2021. And there's some additional criteria as well relating to the Heritage Conservation Act. So far to date, we've paid out $128,137 underneath this grant program. And then the third program is our tree reimbursement program. And this one was approved initially in April of 2024. And it's really just to try to encourage people to plant trees as they rebuild their property. It's a reimbursement of up to $100 for trees and encouraging them to be fire resilient varieties. To date, we've paid out $462.56 on this program. So these three programs are all set to expire on June the 30th, and we're recommending that they be extended to December 31st.
Thank you. All right, so we have a recommended motion. It's actually a three-part motion to include all three of those grants in one. Thank you, Councillor Lightfoot, and a seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. Are there any comments or questions regarding this? No? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Perfect. Well, that I know our residents, our people rebuilding will be pleased to hear that we have made the decision to extend those grants. All right, we move right on then to capital projects update. Diane.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. This is our monthly capital projects update. So looking at our 6 major capital projects that we have and just a couple of the highlights of things that have happened recently. So with respect to the community hub, we have hired Amani Jones as an engagement manager. So she will assist in gathering our community feedback on the project. Council approved O4 Architecture as the design architects for the project, and they're ready to get started on it. And we've hired a pool consultant to put together a report for council regarding various options related to the pool design. And some of the next steps are we're going to complete a communication and engagement plan now that we have our engagement manager on board. And then we will take the report from the pool consultant and incorporate those findings into an RFP for a design build of the pool. And then we continue with requirements gathering, community groups, and to complete the contract with the architects. For the fire hall, the application has been submitted to GICB for funding, and at this time we're waiting for a decision on that. And in the meantime, continue to gather any information that we can on that project. The village office at 380 Main Street, the archaeology plan has been submitted for the geotechnical testing that is required. We're awaiting approval, expecting that to come through fairly quickly. And the architect is continuing to work with the group of consultants on the construction drawings. The Public Works Building at 1430 Main Street, the construction's underway. From what I understand, everything is proceeding as planned. And we're anticipating that should be done sort of late in the summer, or early in the fall. The water upgrades that are happening throughout the village, we have recently awarded a contract to TwinCon for water repairs up on the east side of Main Street. Council has approved. Oh, sorry, the document got cut off there, but the council has approved three firms to provide engineering design services. So True Consulting, Associated Engineering, and WSP were the 3 that were selected. So we will use those firms to do the design of all of the water and sewer projects that we have coming up. And we'll either rotate through them or we might request proposals from amongst them, depending on the individual job that we're doing. And then we have received the water report from the consultant. So that was long awaited, and we've received that now. So we're digesting that and trying to put some plans together to get some of those projects done. The River Road Sewer Project is well along the way, and we're going to be wrapping that up, probably the major work at the end of this week, and then next week will be still some road repairs and some other little tidying up. There will still be some road delays through to the end of next week, but they will be much more intermittent, and people will be able to get through. So that's my update on the capital projects.
Great, thank you. We're looking for a motion, please, to receive this report for information.
I will so move.
Thank you, Councillor McCann, and a seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle. Now, are there any questions, comments regarding this report? Councillor McCann?
I just was wondering about the sewer project. So once that part is done and the road comes back to wherever the road comes back, is that the end of that project, or are they going to move on and do something somewhere else? Like, it seems like I thought there was something more, but am I wrong? Is that the end of it?
That's the end of the River Road sewer project. The next sewer project that will likely happen will be on First Street from River Road to Main and then from River Road to Fraser, but there's not an engineered design for that yet. So it won't start right away.
Oh,
Okay.
There will be a
Okay.
gap.
oh, but all this stuff's gone in, like, it's been fascinating to watch all this happen. I don't know about you, but I just go with my little camera, look every day. Whoa, my goodness, that's a big hole down there.
I get pictures sent to me often from
Yeah.
Councillor Toss when she's walking her dog down out there in the morning. She gives me the latest
pretty
update
interesting.
on what's happening.
I didn't know I was so interested in sewer before, but it's really caught my attention. I thought, oh,
Who
this
knew,
is-
hey?
who
Yeah,
knew? It's fascinating. Yeah.
it is pretty interesting, actually.
That's good.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments or questions? I'm looking up at the screen. I don't see any hands up.
No.
All right, all those in favor for receiving this for information and carried. Perfect. All right, so our next item on the agenda, 2.1, and it's regarding the annual report. And Diane, back to you.
Thank you again, Mayor O'Connor. So we have a number of items on the agenda tonight that are all coming due with the June 30th deadline. So that's why they're all kind of landing here on the same meeting. But this is our annual report that we are required to prepare and make available to the public. And so this is, there's some very specific things that need to be in here. We need to have our audited financial statements in here, a list of permissive tax exemptions, a report on our services and operations for the previous year, and then a progress report on the performance of the municipality with respect to our established objectives and measures. The objectives and measures for the current year, and then any details of declarations of disqualification of a council member. So we brought this forward 2 weeks ago as just kind of an initial preliminary presentation, and then it was made available to the public for comment over the last 2 weeks. We did receive comments from through email, and we have made some adjustments to the report for that. I just wanted to briefly highlight that one of the requests that was made was with respect to an initiative that we had regarding meeting with the chief and council of the bands in the surrounding communities, and we had initially termed it in the chart that we were going to meet as capacity allowed, and that was misinterpreted to or it sounded like we were saying if the village had capacity, we were going to meet with them, but it was actually meant to say if the band had capacity, we would meet with them, because we have found in the past when we've reached out to try to initiate some discussion, sometimes people are just busy doing other things. And so we can't necessarily force those meetings, but we will be attempting to find times that are convenient and work for everybody. So that has been reworded in the plan to make it a little bit clearer, I think. The other thing that I'll say is just with respect to looking at objectives and measures, having our annual plan that was approved last year in August, but still it was approved last year, with a bunch of the key performance indicators and whatnot laid out, made it that much easier to do the annual plan this year because we have those already laid out, and that's what we're reporting against.
Thank
so now
you.
We're looking for council's approval.
So we need a motion to approve this report. Councillor Lightfoot, thank you. And a seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor McCann. Now, are there any questions or comments on this report?
Just fine.
Councillor Lightfoot.
I just want to say it's a well composed document, and I think it's good that people can go online and view it at any time and see what we're what our challenges are and what our objectives are. So thank you very much. It's well done.
Thank you.
And if there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor? And carried. Now, have we lost Councillor Toss? I don't see her.
Okay, there we go.
There you are. Yeah.
I'm just not going to touch it now. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. There you are. All right. Good. Yeah. Okay, so we move on now to the Sophie report, the statement of financial information. And turn it right over to you.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. And the statement of financial information is a requirement of the Financial Act. And so every year by June the 30th, excuse me, the municipality has to prepare the statement of financial information and file it with municipal affairs. I do want to point out there's been a change to the report that was included in the package, and I'm going to ask Corporate Officer Storoshenko to bring up the page that was changed. We had a question about some of the information in the report, and then when we went to look into it, we noticed there was a piece of information that was missing. So we have on the screen here the statement of remuneration and expenses paid to or on behalf of an employee. So I just wanted to highlight for people what the change was that we made today, very late today. Under the expense column, initially we had not included all of the expenses for mayor and council, primarily because the expenses aren't paid directly to the person, they're paid on their behalf. These expenses primarily relate to attendance at conferences or like the annual conference for SILGA, the Southern Interior Local Government Association, and the Union of BC Municipalities. So this would be for conference registration, hotel, travel, that type of thing. So I just wanted to point it out because the numbers under the expenses column for mayor and council have changed from the report that was included in the package and published online. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that.
Thank you for that. So we have a recommended motion to not only approve the report, but to authorize mayor and CFO to sign it. Can we have that motion put forward?
So move, Toss.
Thank you. And a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. Are there any comments or questions regarding this report? Councillor Toss.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the edits, CAO Mombercat. I'm just curious because my understanding was my expenses were higher in the original report because of the way they were logged. It still shows that I'm 2,500 or 50, I think it's 39 compared to 17. Or I don't have the screen in front of me now. So I haven't had any extenuating expenses compared to the other councillors. Could you help me understand that?
I'd have to go into the detail, which I can absolutely do for you, but I do know that in some cases, some councillors only went to SILGA last year, not SILGA and UBCM, and yourself and Mayor O'Connor went to both SILGA and UBCM, so that put both of your expenses a bit higher than the other three councillors. In addition, because you're in the Lower Mainland, sometimes there's mileage payments for you because you have to come up for something specific. That no longer happens because now you're back up living in Lytton, but that was kind of early in the year of 2024, which is...
I don't think that I did charge or claim any expenses for travel from Tsawwassen and back, maybe for the UBCM, but it still doesn't account for 1,000 plus. So I'm not comfortable signing this, Sophie, until I can understand. I know that Mayor O'Connor and I did have the extra event, which for the 4 nights, as I mentioned, I didn't even get to stay in the hotel the 4 nights. I'm hoping that we can look at that and maybe see why those expenses are larger than Mayor O'Connor's. They certainly shouldn't be. And I know some people do pay attention. I know I've heard from other councillors commenting on politicians saying, hey, so-and-so's expenses were quite high. So it is something that voters look at as well. So I'd like to know, or at least
yeah. So CAO Mombercat, are you able to find that information for Councillor Toss and let her know?
I can definitely do that. I can't do it
Yeah.
right now on the
No,
spot
not
because
this
I don't have
second.
that. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I can
no.
definitely find that.
And then
Thank you.
for, just to follow up on that, if then we find that it was just like the way it was accounted for, say like I paid out something or something to that effect, is it too late to change the Sophie report at that point? So this will be signed today.
So we have a motion on the floor right now. So if this motion is approved, it will go in. If not, we would probably have to hold another special meeting in order to approve it. It has to go in on June the 30th. It has to be into the ministry by then. Am I correct?
That's
That be
correct.
correct? Yes.
Yeah.
So are there any other comments or questions? No, we will take the vote. All those in favor of the motion? And opposed?
Are you opposed?
I think it should be correct.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
So there were 3 in favor and 2 opposed. So the motion is carried.
May I ask who was opposed? Was it Councillor Michelle? I just didn't see all the hands.
Yes,
Okay.
Councillor
Okay.
Michelle and Councillor Toss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to item number 2.3, which is the financial update. We do have a report and a motion to receive that for information. So if we could put that motion forward.
So moved.
Thank you. And seconder? Councillor Lightfoot. Are there any questions for CAO Monberquette regarding the December 31st financial report? No? Okay, all those in favor then? And carried. Okay, we move on now to the monthly reporting for the BC contribution agreement. And yeah, I'm going to turn it over to CAO Monberquette.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. This is our monthly report that we do on the EMCR agreement for recovery funding for the $17.6 million grant. So this is the expenses that were incurred in the month of May. We have started to pay out some of the money towards the public works building. So we're going to see sort of larger and larger claims as a result of that. This has a total of 209,276 that we're looking for approval to submit the claim to EMCR for reimbursement.
Okay, so we have a 2-part motion, one to approve it, and the second part is to submit it. So who would like to put that motion forward?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle. Seconder? Councillor Lightfoot. Oh, okay. Councillor Lightfoot. Are there any questions or comments regarding this report? Councillor Toss.
Yeah, I just would like to go on the record that I'm very uncomfortable with almost $80,000 a month in recovery staffing. And I wonder if we can't trim that or find efficiencies. I know that the body's in the village, but for that amount, I'd love to see a body living in the village. And every time I see this come through, I just get a bad feeling in my stomach. So I just put that on the record.
Great. Any other comments or questions? No? All those in favor? And carried. Thank you. All right, we move on to item number 3.1, which is the annual review of the Code of Conduct policy. And I know this is I believe it's in our council procedure bylaw, maybe, that we are bringing this forward every year. Lisa, did you have any comments you'd like to make regarding this?
No, this comes every year. It did come forward back in 2023. This is when council established that. And yeah, in the policy itself, it does say it will be reviewed every year. So
Right.
I don't have any changes, but I'm not sure if anyone else had anything.
Yeah, okay. So what we'll do is I'll ask for the motion to be put forward to receive the report for information and to have council's members sign it. So who would like to put that motion forward?
I also move.
Councillor McCann, and a seconder. Councillor Michelle, thank you. Are there any comments? Does anybody want to see any changes in it, or are we all good? Okay, so I'll just say all those in favor And carried. Okay, so now there are some copies here in the hall to sign. And those people that are online will get them into Corporate Officer Storoshenko. All right, our next item, number 7.4, is Public Works. And we have Kevin Vilak online, and he has a report regarding the community water system. There's Kevin.
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening, Mayor O'Connor and councillors. I've prepared this annual water report as required by legislation and conditions of our permit from Interior Health. So here's our annual water system report requirements. The Village of Lytton provides drinking water to users of the community water system. Annual water system report is a requirement of the Provincial Drinking Water Protection Act, Village's water service agreement with Lytton First Nation, Village's water system operation permit from Interior Health, and Interior Health Authority's drinking water officers responsible for water system permits and the regulation of the systems. Lytton's primary water source is Lytton Creek, which is located 1 kilometer upslope and east of the Trans-Canada Highway. The creek intake is a gravity-fed system, and our secondary water sources are Well 2 and Well 3. We have portable generator that can power either one of the wells during a power outage if the creek is not able to supply us water that is potable. We also have a backup generator at the water treatment plant that can power the water treatment plant in the event of a power outage to supply us the potable water, depending which train we're running, be it the creek or the wells. For 2024, the creek supplied 77% of the overall water demand, and 23% of the water was supplied from our wells. Our water treatment includes 2 Trojan Swift low pressure UV reactors. We only run one reactor at a time. The purpose for having 2 reactors is to have redundancy. So in the event one fails or we have a problem with one, the other one can kick in and take over and still meet the treatment objectives. Within the reservoir 345, so there's 2 reservoirs, 345 North and 345 South, which are located at the water treatment plant. We use those for the chlorine contact time before the water heads off to the consumers within the village. The village follows Interior Health drinking water objectives, which are 43210, and the 4 refers to inactivation of viruses, so 99.99% inactivation. The 3 is 99.9% removal or inactivation of Giardia and Lamblia and Cryptosporidium. The 2 is 2 treatment systems, and we have that with the UV and the chlorine. And then 1 is we have to have a turbidity of less than 1 in order to meet potable water standards. And 0 refers to the absence of fecal coliforms and E. coli from the lab testing that we do within the treated water. We typically see on the creek, because it is a surface water system, we see some coliforms and the odd time some E. coli, which is normal for a surface water system, as it's not contained like the well water is that comes from an aquifer. Our water storage and distribution. So we have 3 reservoirs in total. The 2 I've already mentioned up at the water treatment plant, which is 345 North and 345 South. The 3rd reservoir being Reservoir 265, which serves the downtown core of the village predominantly. The other 2 reservoirs supplement 265, and they also feed IR 17, the West Loring Way, the school, and Kent Avenue is serviced off those reservoirs. And they provide us 1.3 million liters worth of water in storage at any one time. And then the distribution system accounts for approximately another 115,000 liters of water within the system. Our distribution system includes approximately 6.5 kilometers of water pipes ranging from 50 millimeters to 200 millimeter, which is 2-inch to 8-inch pipes.
Thank you.
So here's a graph for our total water use for 2024, the total being 167 million liters for the year. This is a decrease of 10.2% from 2023. And then you can see within the graph compared to 2023 where our water consumption was overall as we went through month to month. And some of the spikes, as you can see in May, there's a considerable decrease in consumption in 2024 and pretty much going forward. And that's when we were able to complete a couple of key repairs as far as water leaks go, which I'm pretty positive that's what contributed to that downward trend on the water consumption. Water consumption for the village of Lytton, the average daily consumption was 3,051 liters per person per day. And this is based upon, I used a population of about 150 permanent residents. We don't have an exact number or exact count of people that are residing within the village. So based on housing counts and average population per housing, that's how I arrived at 150 to use. If we were to increase this number a little bit, it would lower this number by a small margin. And going the other way, if it's less people, then this average per day per person would increase. The BC daily average of water consumption was 401 liters per person per day, and that is coming from, I believe that was through the survey of drinking water plants in 2021 that the Stats Canada did. The village of Lytton has an extremely high consumption. This may be partly due to water leaks. It's pretty certain we're going to find some more water leaks. And then construction activities as the village rebuilds. We use quite a bit of water for rebuilding activities for dust control, curing concrete, and just overall construction needs that way. And then for village maintenance and recovery operations as cleaning the roads and sidewalks and such, watering flowers and that kind of stuff. So our water quality monitoring, the village does extensive water quality monitoring to ensure the safety of drinking water, lab testing of weekly water samples from 7 locations within the village. We also do quarterly testing to monitor for disinfection byproducts, and we do daily chlorine residual testing and turbidity testing at the reservoirs. And then we also perform these tests within the field while we're taking our weekly water samples. The village of Lytton has recently upgraded to a SCADA system, which is an automatic continuous operating system to monitor flow, pH, turbidity, water temperature, and chlorine residual and reservoir levels. The operation staff is highly trained and certified operators who operate and maintain the village's water system. The operation staff includes myself, Kevin Belak, Morgan Heaster, and Jean MacArthur. Staff who are certified for different tasks do water distribution system work, like repairing water main leaks, installing water services, and maintaining fire hydrants. The village also contracts specialists to clean reservoirs, do leak detection, and replace water mains. For 2024 capital and maintenance projects, these included replacing First Street and River Road water mains, replacing a valve on Station Road and 7th Street, repairing water main leaks on the main reservoir feed at the water treatment plant, and a significant leak on West Loring Way. We did some cutting and capping and deleting of an old 2-inch water main along Alonzo Way, which also was a significant leakage or water loss for our system. We serviced our UV reactors twice within the year. We commissioning of well, I believe that's well 3 we commissioned that in 2024. We cleaned the creek intake twice, and we conducted 237 weekly water samples for the year of 2024. In 2025, the village is going to continue to identify and repair water leaks and replace old infrastructure. This will include upgrading water mains, as well as upgrading and replacing old galvanized steel water services. We plan on installing cooling at well 2 kiosk, as in even a mild warm day that kiosk tends to overheat, which we risk causing damage to the new well 2 control system. We're planning on installing 5 water sampling stations within the village, and this is so that we can have a steady area to do water samples from, and it'll also eliminate us from having to enter into private residences to obtain the water samples. And then we need to develop plans for source water protection, drought response plans, and some emergency response plans. Other priorities that are on the radar for interior health and our condition of permit is the village needs to develop a cross-connection control program as part of rebuilding. The program will inspect and eliminate possible connections between the potable water system and any non-potable connections. Backflow devices can prevent potential contamination of the water system. For example, fertilizer from a sprinkler system entering the water supply system if there happened to be a backflow event. A backflow event could be caused by as simple as a fire down the road and the fire department opening up a hydrant and creating a bit of a depressurization in the high flow, and that will cause a backflow, and you could potentially suck stuff into your system if it's not protected properly. And then the village needs to prioritize water conservation, anticipate drought, and work at maintaining an adequate supply of water for potential firefighting and community needs.
Question. Okay, thank you. Does council, is there anyone who has any questions or comments regarding this report? Councillor Lightfoot.
I'm just curious about the water consumption. Of course, that's quite high. You did make comment that with construction and whatever, that perhaps that could be part of the reason. But I'm just wondering if you have any idea of how many non-residential users are accessing the water. And I'm curious, like, how and where would that water be accessed? And is there any idea of the volume that's being used by construction companies or outside users? And the final part of that question is that a billable commodity? Is that billable? Because I do know in the past, CN used to come up to the hydrants and get a great big tanker load of water because North Bend had increased their water prices. So they came into Lytton and they were taking water. So, 10, 15 years ago, we developed a policy that a village worker needed to be there when they took water out of the system to prevent contamination, for one thing, and also to enable accurate billing of what was being taken out of the system. So that's a pretty loaded question, Kevin. I'm not sure you can answer all the questions, but do you have any comments?
I'm always up for a challenge, Councillor Lightfoot. As far as we're aware, within the village, I don't believe there's anyone that is actually coming to the village and taking water or using water for private or commercial needs. Yeah, there's not that I've been made aware of that happens. In order for that to happen, the only way they could do that would be to access through a fire hydrant. So I've not heard or had any complaints about somebody just rolling up and using the hydrants. If there is, certainly that would be a billable commodity, and I would highly recommend a structure set up to be built for that. Not only for the volume of water, but also for the time it takes for an employee to show up and administer, providing the water to whoever may be purchasing it. As far as the water consumption for construction needs, not so much that it's being taken out of the village, but rather like when they do compaction testing at the Public Works building, there's a fire hose set up in order to make the ground wet enough to get proper compaction and do density tests on that compaction. When you're pouring concrete, especially when it's quite warm or there is direct sunlight, you have to have water on it almost continuously in order for it to cure properly and not cure too fast to cause cracking. So those are the types of construction activities I refer to, and then, you know, just simple wash down of tools and that kind of thing. Another big part of the water consumption, besides whatever potential leaks we may have, would be the lack of or no real enforcement on watering restrictions. And there is considerable watering that we see throughout the village that happens 24/7 quite regularly through the summertime. So without any type of restriction to that, that is another big consumer of water for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Councillor McCann.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for such a thorough report. It's fascinating. When you talk about initiatives and you talk about the drought response plan, water protection plan, emergency response plan, can you just kind of speak a little bit more about what on earth that is?
Yeah, sure. So on a drought response plan, this has been a mandate of Interior Health in the last few years. Since the last 4 years now, the province of BC has been in a high drought. So the health authorities collectively are highly recommending that water suppliers come up with a drought plan, basically how you can respond to drought and how you can try to mitigate your loss and maintain a proper supply of potable water, not only for drinking, but also for fire protection going forward. And that's what the drought response plan refers to. The emergency response plan, so that's an overall plan based on your water treatment and your water supply. And what an emergency response plan would, it kind of covers everything and anything to do with the water system. So from a water main break to a well broke down, or your generator broke down. So now what do you do for backup power? And, you know, just so that in the event of any kind of emergency, you're able to go to a plan, flip to the tab that says the cog on the wheel broke, and it's written out for you on how to respond to that particular emergency. And the other one was a source water protection plan. So this is a fairly significant one that all water suppliers do. And what that is for is around all of your water supplies. So you typically have that assessed by a hydrogeologist. And then out of that, they will do a rating of what type of, like in the sense of the wells, because they're downtown in an unconfined aquifer, they would look at what type of hazards are around on the surface for potential contamination of your aquifer. And then there would be recommendations on what you can do to try to protect your aquifer or protect that water supply. You know, some of the simple stuff around that is just simply identifying where your aquifer is and putting up signage to identify the aquifer so people are aware. You know, you don't want to be dumping a bunch of gas in this field because it's directly over top of your drinking water aquifer. And then the other part of it too would be with the creek watershed to identify what potential hazards there are there for the source water for contamination, and then trying to identify or mitigate the risks of that contamination on the source water.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Toss.
Thank you. I really appreciate this report as well, because I actually think water is probably our single biggest challenge with the village of Lytton in the long run. But quick couple of comments and questions. As far as cleaning roads and water for building and water being used 24 hours a day, anecdotally, of course, in the village, I'm not seeing that. I'm really, like Councillor Lightfoot, wondering about the 401 liters per person to 3,051 is quite significant. I don't feel like that quite explains it. And I'm wondering for like the cap on Alonzo Way, for example, just as an example, could you is there data that we have on how much water was saved through fixing that leak? Like, do we have a before and after pressure test, or is it also anecdotal?
No, that would be anecdotal as well. The
Okay.
best we could roughly do is look back on my notes to determine the exact date we completed that work, and then extrapolate the consumption for the month before and the month after.
Sure, thank you. And then just so I get an idea of what 3,051 liters looks like, how many liters, and I'm putting you on the spot a bit here, but if you were to say to leave a hose on 24 hours, how many liters would you expect to expend, out of curiosity?
I believe the average hose will do approximately 45 liters a minute.
Okay.
So to make 3,000 liters, you're just over an hour of a hose running.
Is 3,000 liters is 1 hour of hose running?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. One thing that you mentioned also at the beginning was that we are not quite sure about the exact number of people in the village. I feel like maybe that's a bigger issue that we need to maybe do a census and really get a handle on that. It shouldn't be that difficult. And then my last question is for the village, I'm personally really in favor of trying to get a water fountain put into the village.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you could speak to that in terms of what that would mean for interior health, for testing, for liability, for what do you think is a good idea? Is it viable?
Yeah, it's 100%. Just decide where you want it. Let's get an ARC plan and let's put her in. They're that simple. They're very low risk as far as contamination to your water system, because they're considered to have what's called an air gap. So there is no potential for any contaminants to be drawn back into your system. It's very similar to like your sink. When you turn your water on, the spigot from your sink isn't directly connected to the basin of your sink. There's that air gap, and that's the purpose for an air gap, is to prevent any kind of backflow that way.
As far as testing, like as far as the quality of water for the public and liability?
We would just continue with our regular testing that we do throughout the village in representative spots, and that's all there would be to do for testing, and that's all any other city does as well.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Yes, Councillor Lightfoot, please.
Just looking for an opinion. In your experience, have you seen municipalities that had water meters, and has it been your experience that it minimized the use?
Yes and no. So my experience with water meters is here in the city of Merritt. All of our commercial and industrial customers have water meters. They are metered, and they are billed based on consumption. The city of Merritt currently is actually just received some grant funding, and we're doing a citywide water meter installation through all residences within the city. And in preparations to do that, the studies that they have done with water meters is even just installing the water meter into a residence reduces the water consumption approximately 30%, even without billing for it, because it makes people more aware of what they're actually doing and using their water for.
Thank you. I guess if I grew up in Ontario in the 50s, and we had water meters. It was all well water that was pumped up into towers. And so it was something that I grew up with. My dad was very conscious about not wasting water. And I know that seniors in the past have said that they wouldn't mind being billed by consumption, because a senior in a house uses way less water than a family of 6. So something
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. All right, so we have we need a motion here to receive Kevin's report for information. And thank you, Councillor Toss, a seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. So if there are no other questions or comments, all those in favor?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for that report. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8, correspondence. And we have one piece of correspondence from Highland Valley Copper regarding the extension of their project and the environmental assessment certificate that was issued for that. I did hear all about it on the news the other night. So we're looking for a motion to receive this piece of correspondence for information.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle. Seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. So all those in favor? And carried. Okay. All right, so we'll move on. Minutes of committees, item number 9. So we did have a project advisory committee meeting, and these are the minutes from the May 26th meeting, which is about a month ago. So we need a motion to receive those minutes.
So move Lightfoot.
Thank you. And a seconder.
Toss.
Toss. Okay. All those in favor?
Oh, may I ask something?
Oh, yes, you can.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. In the minutes, it had regrets, and I didn't see Kanak in there, nor were they attending. Was there a reason, or is that just a typo?
Good question. I don't have it.
I think it was a typo.
Okay.
It was a typo? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good, because they typically do.
Might be worth sticking in there.
Join.
Thanks.
Okay, great. All right, all those in favor then of receiving those minutes and carried. All right, so we'll move on to verbal reports. And I will begin. So I think June 10th was our last council meeting. So June 11th and 12th, that was a Wednesday and Thursday, I attended the out-of-town TNRD board meeting in Clinton and the Big Bar area. I visited the Clinton Museum and their TNRD library right in the village there. We traveled out to Big Bar and we stayed the night at a place called Echo Valley. I'd never been out in that area, so it was quite fascinating to go out. When we left the highway, we were no cell service until we returned back to Clinton the next day. But on the way back, we stopped for a welcoming from the High Bar First Nation, where we learned about culturally modified trees they have in that area as trail markers, as well as we visited an important site of the Pit House depressions. They've got quite an area there. It was quite fascinating. And it was really nice to get off of that bumpy dirt road and back to Clinton, because it's quite a trek out there. But it was a great 2 days to see another area of the regional district that I'd never been before. On June the 16th, we had a meeting, the Hub PAC meeting, and there wasn't a lot on the topic. One of the topic items on the agenda was regarding the terms of reference. And we took a look at it, and as we're looking at it, the power went out that night. And so we lost everybody that was on Zoom. And so the few of us here carried on with a bit more conversation. But Yeah, the meeting ended quite abruptly. On June the 17th, I attended the opening of the temporary pharmacy and gave a congratulatory message there, which we're quite pleased that that pharmacy has opened, of course, for our community. On June the 18th, along with Councillor McCann, we toured Cumsheen students from Division 1 and 2 through the village, and then took them out to the village office for a quick tour and the temporary fire hall. So they were doing their little bit of local government, I guess, learning. And special thanks goes to Kyle Parker and Jim McDonald for providing the tour of the fire hall and the trucks and some fire safety lessons. And of course, the kids all got little fire hats, and it was lovely. That evening, I attended the Cumsheen Fire Smart Barbecue. I believe it was that evening. Yes,
that was
18th. Yes. June 19th, I participated in the Svitland Planting Day here at the park, which is great to see that park coming together. June 21st, I attended in the morning the Intercotton Day event on the LAS grounds, gave greetings there. In the evening, I was honored to be invited to speak after the Eyes of the Beast play in Vancouver. So Councillor McCann and I actually drove down to Vancouver, in downtown Vancouver. And it's a play that has stories of the people from Lytton and as well as other survivors of the heat dome and the floods and such. It was a pretty inspirational presentation we went to, but as I mentioned at the end of it, I was invited to give a few words, so that was very interesting. And again, the following day, so that was Saturday, and on Sunday we were honored again to be invited down to Fraserland's church service and a lunch there, where we provided an update on the recovery and rebuilding of Lytton and had the opportunity to directly thank the many people from Fraserland's church who have been supporting Lytton since 2021. And they continue to support Lytton. So that was wonderful. Yesterday, June 23rd, at Coffee with the Mayor here, we welcomed our MP, Frank Caputo, who stopped in. And we had an opportunity to share with him some of our challenges here in Lytton. And that is my report. So it's been a very, very busy 2 weeks. We'll move on to Councillor Toss. Oh, we can't hear you, Councillor Toss. You're muted.
You're still muted.
You're still muted. I can hear voices, but it's not yours. No? Okay. Well, there you are. Yeah, good.
I was going to say nothing to report other than comments. I wanted to thank you, Mayor O'Connor and Noni and the rest of staff and council for all the hard work. I feel like I've been sort of detached this last week, but you have worked so hard for the community. So thank you. And I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Councillor McCann.
I've become the mayor's assistant.
2 weeks.
But it's fun going around with the mayor, I gotta tell you. I enjoy it. So a couple of times I do things on my own. And so I went to the coffee things. One thing I got to do on my own was on the, I think it was the 11th. The mayor was busy having a good time up at Bridge River. So, or Bridge Lake or Bridge whatever, whichever big bar. And at that point in time, there was the Chinese consul person who came to Lytton. And I got to meet this person with Lorna Fandrich at the Chinese History Museum. And that was fascinating. It was cool to wear the mayor's hat and learn all about that stuff and meet those guys. They're very interesting people. And there was a lovely gift presented to the mayor on behalf of the consul. I presume that's to the village at some point. So that was something different that I did too. I also attended the opening of the pharmacy, which was fun. So there's been lots of barbecues. There was barbecue there. Then the next day we had barbecue here. And I'm pretty sure I missed the barbecue at somebody else's opening. Gosh darn, hey. The sharing session for Fire Smart here, I was really happy with how that went. You weren't able to make it. Were you here, Councillor Lightfoot?
No.
Yeah, it was really well attended. The wildfire guys came and they cooked the barbecue, and the presentations with the trailers outside, like people got a chance to look in our emergency trailer, and the LFN one was here, and then the rescue vehicles. And then Councillor Toss, Director Thorpe did a really welcoming session with people wanting to learn about the Fire Smart assessment for their homes. And she walked them through that, which was really nice of her to do that. And so very, very good evening, I felt. And then followed that with our planting day, when the teacher and me came out and had a fabulous time with little kids playing in the dirt. And the teenagers, there was this kind of moment where there's this young teenage fellow that came and he was digging the hole for the tree and he planted the tree. And I thought, that kid is never going to vandalize that tree because he planted it there. And I think even Frida was saying when the kids came by for a field trip the next day, they were showing their friends which plants they put in the ground. Like there's so much more that happens on those kinds of days that you just kind of can see the value in them. So I came away feeling really good about that. The performance that I went with the mayor on this weekend was very touching, and hearing voices of our friends from Lytton was equally touching. And it always brings back that whole thing, right? You come back and visit the event once again and find other ways to resolve it. So that was the way it was put at the end by Sean Holman.
Yeah.
Was that it was part of the process of healing from trauma. I hadn't realized that. He said doing that was a way of resolving for people. So really interesting. I've talked to a couple of people that were involved as those who were interviewed, and they found it to be a helpful process too. So, and meeting the MP was good because that's important. Yep, that's me. That's what I got.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Michelle.
Nothing to report.
Okay, and Councillor Lightfoot.
Not a lot to report. I made it to one coffee a week or so ago, and today I was at the Regional Advisory Committee for NDIT, where we reviewed the most recent applications.
Great, good. Okay, thank you.
Nothing to report.
All right, so that brings us now to, we have no other business. We are going to be moving into closed meeting, and which is ending the open portion of this meeting. So we do require the motion that's recommended here to move into closed meeting. Well, that I'll make. Thank you, Councillor Michelle, and a seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor McCann, and all those in favor.
Aye.
Very great, thank you. So I will turn it back over to Theo Staroshenko as we end this meeting.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. So that concludes the public portion of the regular council meeting for June 24th, 2025. We ask that the public and staff please remove yourself from the meeting as we go into closed. Thank you for attending. Have a wonderful night. And I invite council to take a short recess while I reset the meeting to closed.